We're going to be learning peyote stitch today. I think this is the most popular and easiest to learn of the bead weaving stitches. I like to start by anchoring my thread. You could use a stopper bead. I like to anchor it because I think when you're learning to do this stitch, the first row can be a little bit awkward to do. So if you have your thread anchored, it works really well. I have just put a needle through my bead mat and I'm just wrapping my thread round so it's secure, so you can see. So my beads won't fall off the end. And I'm using some large beads here today. These are a size 8 Delica. Just so that you can see, Delicas are great for doing peyote stitch because being cylinder beads, they fit together very easily. I'm alternating the colors so that I can show you how they separate in the rows, because when you first string your beads, and we're going to string an even number, and I'm going to show you even count peyote, so even number of beads, you'll see these will separate into a white row and a red row once we start working. So we're going to slide those on and you can see they kind of hold tight. Now we're going to start with another white row. So this is my end and I'm going to go in through the red bead. So I've added a white, I'm going to skip this first white one, I'm going to go in through the red bead. As we hold that together, we pull this in and you can see when those beads sit on top of each other, there we have 2 white beads and then we go into the red bead. So we're going to add another white and go through the next red bead. And as we pull that tight again, you'll see it sits on top. Okay, another white bead through the red. This sits on top. A couple more stitches. White through the red. And a white and through the last red bead. So now you can see that we have the 2 white beads at one end of the row and the single red bead at the other end. And this is how even count will look. It means that you can turn straight away. And now we have those beads anchored, we don't need to do this anymore. We can take the needle out and free the beadwork so we can hold it. Now, off loom. Now we're going to do a row of red. And our turn is really easy. We're just coming out of the red bead, add a red bead, go through the white. Red bead through the white, red bead through the white. You can see how it separates the white beads on the bottom. That was our row 1, and then the red beads went up. This is how we get the term of up and down beads. As we're putting a red bead on, you're going through the white bead, which is poking up so that you can find the hole. So that's what's called an up bead. So red bead on, red bead through the next white, up bead. And that's how you would turn, how you continue. You can see you've got what we call a simple turn each side. Is all you do once you come out of that bead, you add another one to go on through. So you see how we've gone red there. Work a row of red, and there you go. And that is all there is to even count peyote. And you can see you can get vertical stripes and horizontal stripes very easily. Alternating your rows, So you might do 2 rows of each color will give you stripes going horizontally. 1 row of white followed by 1 row of red will give you vertical stripes. So very nice and easy to do and very relaxing. Alright, we will come back and we will be doing odd count peyote. A bit more complicated in the turns. And now we're going to look at odd count peyote. You can see I've anchored my thread in the same way and I've strung an odd count number of beads. So I'm beginning and ending with a red bead. So to start, we're going to go and we'll work in white. And it's the same easy turn as we did for the even count peyote on one side. So we're just going to work across in the regular peyote stitch. It doesn't really tell until you get to the other side. Okay, so as you can see, I've worked across, and as I'm finishing up here, I have a bead left over. The red bead is left over on the end. So to finish this, we have to do what we call a complex turn. So I add a bead and I take my needle, I come in the opposite way through the red bead. So when I pull this down, the bead will sit on top. And that is a way to the first step of the turn. Now, you can also come through here. So basically the turn is being worked on these 5 beads that are give us a cross. Then we're going to go across this way. And that is the turn, and then to finish we can just come back through that last white bead that we added at the other row, and we're now in the place to work a regular row. Now I'm just going to come back and I'm going to show you a cheat on this one. And we're back for the cheat. So here I am back at the spot where I've just added my last bead and I have that last red bead loose. I'm going to take out my needle, loosen my thread, and I'm going to take my threads and I'm going to cross them over and I'm going to pass my needle in the hole. Basically, I am tying a knot, and that holds those 2 beads together. We'll secure it with a second square knot. And then I'm just ready to do that turn of pushing my needle through that end white bead. So nobody knows what we actually cheated. It's a nice easy fix when you're that first row that can be so difficult for people to figure this first turn out. Okay, so now we're going to work another row. So here we go, we'll put a red between those white beads. And as you see, when we get to the other end, we have another one of those nice, easy, simple turns where we just have to turn the work over, add a bead, and continue. Okay. And here we are again. We're at the end and we have to add a base bead, and there's no next bead to go through. So what do we do? Okay, the cheat is to go through the thread. If you can see this, the thread at the end of the beads, if you go under that thread pull the bead into place so it pops there, then just turn your thread around and go through this bead. So that's the cheat. We will not cheat, we will show you another way. And our thread back out. Okay. Okay. So here you can see I'm back at the stage where I have the bead loose again, and I'm going to go under and in through the bead below. This pulls the bead into place. I'm now going to go at the bead to the side of it on the second row down. If you can see, I'm under this bead. As I pull that through, that bead's sitting nicely in place. Now I'm going to go a diagonal through that red bead and through the white on the diagonal. Pull that through, and then I can go through the white bead and complete the turn. And now I'm back ready to work. And now there is another way, a nice easy way to do a turn, but it's if you get a little bit more advanced and you might be working something in a plain color where you don't have to worry about your pattern so much. And that is, as you work your row, you will just work, we're just going to go in a plain color right now. We'll just work in the white. That's our easy turn. Work around to the end of the row. Now I'm going to add this last bead. This is the last bead before I'll have the loose one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through both of the last beads, so on a diagonal, as you can see. Okay. Then I'm going to do a nice easy turn. And this time I'm going to go back up through those two beads. So as I'm adding this last one of this row, I'm going to be coming out into the next row. Okay. Now I'm working red so you can see. I'm now not going to be working a complete row. As I go through on a regular, nice easy turn at this end. And here I am at the last bead to go through the red. I'm going to go through the red and the white below, again on that diagonal. Okay. Now this puts me in so that I can add the red of the previous row and look at that nice easy turn to add the red of that row, the last row, and then the last one of the last row. Now I have to step up to work my next row. So we will do a few rows like this so you can see how you work. If you're working in a plain color, without a lot of pattern to follow, it makes it a lot faster to work. I know people are always asking me how I do such fast work, and this is how it is. So here we go again. We're going down into the previous row. We're going to add the beads from the previous row. Our nice simple turn, and adding our row of our last row, the beads of the last row here, and then our step up. Now we go into our red, work our next row. Again, we've got a simple turn. You can see how we get less beads on this side, at the end of the row, and more empty spaces here. as we're stepping up. Eventually it all works out. Now I didn't go through that second bead to get into my previous row. And nice easy turn. And our last one to step up, and then we start our next row. An easy turn, got to go down through that second row. Okay, so we've got that row. We are running out of beads here. Okay, so here we go. And this row is actually going to give us our completion. So when we get to this row, we can go straight diagonal through the 2 rows below, and then as we turn, we can come up through this row. And then we can start the process all over again. It eliminates all those hard turns, and also gives you, your thread is going through your work a little bit differently, and that makes it a little bit stronger too. You don't have a weakness from where you have your double thread on one end from doing the turns all in the side. So it adds a bit more strength, and we always like things that add a bit more strength. Anyway, those are some tricks with peyote, and hopefully you'll tune in again for some